I was asked to talk from a customer perspective about the investment. And I think Steve links very clearly into the comments that Steve has made. The way we think about it is, say, putting our customers first, why that has to be the start and end point. And why do we say that? First of all, because our customers pay the bill. It may not get through their doorstep every month, as it does for some of Steve's customers in the US, but it certainly gets through their doorstep pretty regularly. Secondly, they live with our developments in their homes, their businesses, and their communities, and we need their support. Whether that's building a wire, as Steve described, or building a wind farm, or building a conventional power station, or distributed energy, or putting energy efficiency measures down their streets. Also, of course, the decisions we make now will impact the lives of our customers today, their children, and their grandchildren. And they'll impact their businesses today and the future of those businesses. Now, we all know in this room that we need to invest to upgrade that old infrastructure, build the new infrastructure, refurbish the old infrastructure, build new power plants, the mix, questions that Steve described, and as I say, improve energy efficiency. We also know that we need the framework for investment, and we've got that framework with EMR. And we spent a lot of time discussing that framework from an intellectual and analytical perspective. But I believe much less time discussing that framework from an engagement perspective, and I'll explain what I mean. I guess we all see it. If we look at the newspapers every single day, we see commentary on energy companies. Whether we're competing for the bottom with politicians and banks, as Steve says, we see these comments: energy bills rip-off, energy companies making excessive profits. At the same time, we also see, and we know how our customers feel, that many household bills are really stretched. Now, I was sitting with a group of our customers a couple of weeks ago, and it was absolutely, staggering, the range of money that people spend on their bills, but actually awful, the amount of their income that some people spend on their bill. And that's not we see that all the time. And then customers hear conflicting messages. Let's talk about wind farms, for example. What should we build? Should we build onshore wind farms? Are onshore wind farms cost effective? Are they always? No, actually they're not. They're always still, aren't they? They don't make any electricity. They're just a blight on our landscape. No, they're not. They're absolutely the right thing to do to build sustainable energy in this country. Which of those two competing perspectives do our customers believe? Or can our customers believe? You can see an article one day. Actually, I received a YouTube clip, which was on the Guardian website, of the preparations for the team who, and I use the word team advisedly, the team who got into West Burton. And very clear, very well prepared team who got into West Burton. Very interesting, on the Guardian website. I've not looked on the Daily Mail website, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if on the Daily Mail website there isn't a clip of a team who bulldozed over an onshore wind farm, or attempted to bulldoze over an onshore wind farm. So these two competing perspectives that our customers see all the time. And there are many, many more examples. That's just, onshore wind farms is just one. So when we look at the investment framework, in the UK, and I'm not saying we should change the investment framework, but as we develop the implementation of the investment framework, how does it look from a customer perspective? I think we should ask 3 questions. One is, will our customers get value from this investment? Is this approach to implementing our policy cost effective for our customers? Secondly, is the cost of energy and the future investment allocated fairly between customer groups and between generations? And thirdly, how do we provide more transparency, and that might be more narrative, so that our customers can really understand and engage with the underlying facts? So I'd like to explore those 3 questions today with some examples, and maybe we can discuss them more in the panel in a few minutes. I'll start with how can we be more transparent? Why have I started with that? I think because that's what our customers and stakeholders, if they don't understand or trust the money we make or how we spend it, then why should they trust the decisions we make in terms of investment and in terms of the framework? So just from a retail perspective, we spent a huge amount of time last year listening to our customers. We listened to them directly in forums such as the one that I just described a couple of weeks ago. We listened to them through a panel called Your Say. We have 28,000 of our customers online, and hopefully that works, unlike these iPads from time to time. And we set up a customer council. And through that, we were simply saying, how is it do you want us to improve our service as a retailer? So none of the infrastructure questions, but as a retailer. And through that, we reduced our number of tariffs, we simplified our tariffs, we got ourselves down to a single piece of paper bill, which is much clearer and simpler. And I hope we began to discuss with our customers, and I use the word discuss because it's listening as well as talking, in a much more engaging and engaged way. One part of that is the energy bill. And we've tried to unpick the energy bill for our customers to explain, by bill I don't mean the energy bill going through Parliament, I mean the energy bill they get through their door. Trying to explain how the costs of the bill are made up. The wholesale energy cost, the cost of the network getting the energy to their door, the cost of the social and the environmental obligations, and retailers' operating costs, so our call centres, our meter readers, and those things. And as a retailer, we've set that out, I think, very clearly. We also use the opportunity of our annual results to explain it. And I think last year, if you look at our annual results last year, we increased our customer numbers. We kept our operating costs almost flat. The costs we control, we kept below inflation. At the same time, a number of the other costs in the system have increased because as a society, we're investing in the infrastructure. And our margin as a retailer increased slightly from 2% to 2.3% on residential customers. I went on Radio 4 last week on the Today programme, and actually our total margin on retail had gone down because on industrial and commercial, on the B2B business, our profits had declined. So actually going on Radio 4 with a message as an energy company that your profits have declined, actually paradoxically, that's quite a good message, right, in this environment. Well, at the same time, we know we have to have a sustainable business and we have to invest. I talked also about the other side of our business, our upstream business, where generation, renewables, offshore and onshore wind, and upstream gas. And in that business, we made our profit last year was nearly 600 million, and we invested nearly 1.2 billion. So again, I was trying to explain these dynamics. I think we all recognise that just explaining the figures is not, absolutely not enough, and it's a start. And we believe that as an industry, we should have much more transparency about these numbers and explain these numbers much more clearly to our customers and stakeholders. So I would really like all companies to try to do that in the same way, in an engaging way with our customers, whether it's us as retailers or network companies or generators. I feel that often the retailers, because they're on the front line posting the bill through our customers' doorsteps or through our customers' letterboxes, take on that obligation for the rest of the industry, and actually the rest of the industry also should take part. In addition, and this is to continue to improve transparency, I would really like to ensure we show a clear distinction between generation and retail, as well as the networks, and particularly make sure we can't cross-subsidise, and I'd ask Ofgem to ensure that, between generation and retail. So we have a level transparency and a level playing field and a really open market for new competitors. So that's just part of transparency. It's about listening. In that particular case, I've focused on profitability and the bills. There's many more aspects of transparency and narrative, as some of which Steve have touched on. We come on to my second question. So will customers get value for money, and is the policy cost effective? That's as we implement the policy. And I've got two examples, one of which I think is where the answer is definitely no, and the other is where it's maybe no, and we need to work really hard to make sure that it turns into yes. So let me take the first example. The first example is the carbon price floor. Actually, if I go back to my first question, is this transparent? Absolutely not. How many of our customers understand the sentence carbon price floor? Why don't we just call it what it is, and I'll come back to that in a minute. It was put in place with the stated objective of encouraging investment in low carbon energy. It certainly doesn't do that. What is it? What does it do? It raises tax for the exchequer. It provides a subsidy for old nuclear and old hydro, which our parents or grandparents paid for. And it's an encouragement for energy imports. So it gives absolutely no value to energy customers today. In fact, it takes value from them and puts it in other pockets. So let's just call it an electricity tax. A bit of a simpler phrase which our customers could understand. And we believe it should simply be scrapped. However, if it's not scrapped, the money should be used on energy efficiency. And that's why we joined the energy bill revolution, which is calling for the revenues from the carbon floor price to be reinvested to improve the investments in energy efficiency in UK homes. Of course, tomorrow we'll hear the budget and we'll find out what the Chancellor has decided to do with it. Let's see. So that's the first policy. Secondly, eco. I think this is a maybe. As you will know in this room, eco is an obligation on some energy companies, some energy retailers, not all energy retailers, to provide energy efficiency investment for houses up and down the country. Eco will be a substantial portion of our customers' average bill in the next few years. It will certainly stimulate investment. Each of the obligated companies will absolutely run around the country installing insulation in people's houses, exterior insulation or interior insulation, more efficient boilers, these sorts of things. And so it will certainly stimulate investment. But does the implementation, the design of the scheme, ensure that the investments in energy efficiency are as cost effective as possible? Because we're putting it on people's bills, is it going to be as cost effective in reducing energy consumption as it really optimally could be? As you know, the industry believes that it will cost substantially more than the government estimates. Now, I certainly don't want it to cost more, but there are some elements of the scheme which put upward pressure on costs. The short time duration, for example, means you have to do them very quickly. The lack of banking and borrowing between phases. The impact actually of the squeeze on council budgets means that the DEC assumption, the government assumption that 43% of the funding will be not provided by energy companies but provided elsewhere, is seriously in doubt. And finally, the transition from certain CESP, the previous schemes, which is causing some confusion in the market at the moment. So let's not change it right now, but let's get on and deliver, but let's absolutely then monitor the real cost of this phase of eco to make sure that we learn from it and take the lessons into the next phase. So there's a couple of examples there of cost effectiveness. We can discuss more later. We come to my final question. Is the way that the cost is allocated fair? I read an interesting blog by Mike O'Connor of Consumer Focus recently, and he questioned whether the fairest way of collecting funds is through energy bills. Whether it's done on a customer basis or a per unit basis. If it's done on a customer basis, it's absolutely crystal clear it's a poll tax, as Mike highlighted. And in fact, Eco, the predecessor of Eco, was on a per customer basis. The current version is on a per unit basis. So that's an improvement. Nevertheless, it's still regressive. It's not exactly a poll tax, but it's it's a tax based not on your ability to pay, but on your need to keep your house warm in the residential area. And ironically, in the case of Eco, of course, what it's aiming to do is to improve energy efficiency, help people to get out of fuel poverty. In fact, according to Professor Hills, it will put more people into fuel poverty than it will remove from fuel poverty. The carbon floor price is similar. It's a regressive tax on customers. It's paid on a per unit basis. Now, I guess the large energy users spotted this and rightly highlighted the flaws and negotiated some relief for their businesses. But that doesn't help customers up and down the country, residential customers up and down the country, small and medium-sized businesses up and down the country. Mike also highlighted in his blog that if we just look at another sector which needs massive investment in infrastructure over the next 20 years, is engineering-based, but it also needs massive investment in skills, the transport sector. In that case, the cost of that investment is borne almost 2-to-1 between the taxpayer and the customer. So in fact, the taxpayers are paying a significant subsidy for the investment in new transport infrastructure. So why is that? you've got two industries which are pretty similar. Both need huge investment over the next few years, the next decade. And in one case, the investment is being made jointly by customers and taxpayers. And in another case, the investment is being made exclusively by customers. And in fact, the customers are paying more into the exchequer, which is then used presumably for other things. Anything from Trident nuclear missiles to education. Take your pick. So have we got here? Is it because energy used to be cheap? Is it because energy companies are unpopular? But that is just a very odd asymmetry. How can that be? And it's also then a question of generation. So this generation is paying, through its bills, is paying for investment the benefit of which will be reaped by future generations in the charts that Steve shows of the future energy mix. So is that fair? I'd just like to pose that question. So what do I want, in summary? I want an energy market which is fair for all customers and all participants, where policies which put customers first, focus on value for money, proper thought given to how those customers pay and whether that's fair, and also much improved transparency to improve the understanding, the engagement of our customers, and to ensure that they really understand the trade-offs that are being made, and also to ensure that we then have a level playing field between energy companies. I think as the energy bill goes through Parliament, the key thing is to get it done and get it implemented, and then get on with implementation. And as we get on to implementation, it's to make sure that we really are testing it against, is the implementation of this policy cost effective? Is it fair? And is it transparent and clear to our customers? I see the red light's just gone on, so that means stop. Thank you.